Welcome to the Homeschool Show from North Carolinians for Home Education. Our goal is to help you homeschool with confidence and joy. I'm your host, Matthew McDill, and we have a brand new co-host in the studio here with me, Lynn Pierre Jones. How are you?
Doing great. Good, great to be here.
I'm glad you could be here. That's great.
Yes.
You know, we met at the Thrive Homeschool Conference, right?
Yes.
And you were in the Leaders Luncheon. We were able to meet there.
Had a
That's
wonderful
right.
time. Yes.
That's right. And so a little bit later, Lynn's going to share some tips with us, and we'll get a chance to get to know him a little bit better. But I want to tell you one thing about why I love doing this show.
Okay.
Because there are very few things more important than what's happening in the home, happening in the family. There are very few things that are more important than what parents are doing. So I just say that to you, parents. What you're doing is critical. It's very important. How you're educating your children is critical. That you are preparing your children for life, that you're developing them, the spiritual, the character, all of the things that they're doing. And that's why we're doing this, because we want to help you. We want to help you homeschool with confidence and joy. That's what this content is for. So be encouraged that you're doing a really important thing. You can do it.
Yes.
And we're here to help you do it in this episode right here. So, Lynn, tell us what we got planned today.
All right. Today in Homeschool News, we will report from France, where authorities are rejecting the vast majority of requests to homeschool. Next, we have the Homeschool Conversations section, where we'll talk with a homeschooler graduate that I know personally, Sierra Talbert, and learn about her experience with home education. We'll also talk with Spencer Mason, NCHE's Law and Public Director and an experienced homeschool dad. You don't want to miss that. And lastly, the Homeschool Tip of the Week, where I will be discussing the importance of setting an example in your home as it relates to health.
That's right. Great. So we're going to start with homeschool news. And what we have is an article that's published by the Homeschool Legal Defense Association on their website. And it's called French Authorities Rejecting Vast Majority of Requests to Homeschool. So I want to share a few portions of this article with you. In France, government officials are stonewalling the fundamental human right of families to homeschool their children. The situation is extremely worrying for families who want to start homeschooling next September. According to reports, the government has refused 80% of new families who have tried to home educate their kids. And even though France currently faces a dramatic shortage of teachers, the French Ministry of Education continues to block thousands of parents from giving their children the very best education experience at home. And they usually provide the following reasons for refusal. 1, there's no child-specific situation that would justify homeschooling. The parents have failed to prove that their child can't attend regular school. Well, you have to prove you can't attend school. The parents have not integrated sports into their homeschool plan. Wow. The family's homeschool plan contains too little detail. But parents who appeal these refusals run into another roadblock. The appeals procedure only involves a commission of the academy in the appeal proceedings. And no one else has a say in what goes on behind those closed doors. Not the parents, not the children, not even representatives from homeschool organizations. HSLDA has requested several meetings with the ministry to rectify this situation, and we've received more than 100 real calls from help from families who want to provide the best education for their children, but to no avail. So this is an ongoing situation in France where they are trying to suppress home education and not letting new people do it. Homeschool Legal Defense Association is involved, and we can hope and pray that they can help make those things right for those parents there.
Wow.
All right. What do we got next?
All right, moving on. Homeschool Conversations. Now, this is exciting to me because I actually know her. She has been over to my house. She has helped my wife out with many of things because we do, we went to homeschool, so we need a lot of administrative help. And Sarah has been the one that has helped us out immensely. So our first interview is going to be with her. She's a current college student and a recent high school graduate. Matthew had a conversation with her at this year's Thrive Conference. So I think you'll find her reflections on homeschooling very interesting and exciting. So let's take a listen.
That's right. I'm here with Sarah Talbert at the 2022 Thrive Conference. And I was just talking to her mom, who is the brand new Region 4 liaison, right? And we learned that Shade's been homeschooling for a long time, and that means you. Were you the first graduate?
I am the first graduate. I am.
Okay, and look, you turned out okay.
Yeah, I turned out all right. Maybe. We'll see.
And so you're going to school now? Tell us about that.
I am now at Gardner-Webb University, so I'm entering my sophomore, junior year. With my college credits, I'm transferring in. So, I'm somewhere between sophomore and junior year.
So how would you say your transition is, in the sense of, okay, you're homeschool, and then you go to college, which is more structured, I guess. How is that transition?
Personally, for me, I enjoy organization and structure.
Okay.
So being homeschooled under my mom, who was more laid back, it was a little, that was stressful for me. Okay. So I transitioned into college just fine. The classes were not that difficult. The only thing I had a problem with was really science this year, which science is not my strong suit. But other than that, I transitioned into college just fine.
Great. So that's interesting, because students have different learning styles, and you're a lot more like, give me some structure.
Yes, type A, yes.
Okay. Did you create for yourself structure as a homeschool student?
In the early years.
Being provided?
Yes, in my early years I did. I kind of my mom gave me, the textbook that she wanted us to go through, and I just kind of created a schedule for myself. As we got older, we went to more structured co-ops. So having that was very beneficial for me. So I enjoyed having the structure and the syllabus from the co-ops.
So overall, homeschooling was a good experience?
Oh, yes. Wonderful. I love it. I loved it. Yes.
What were some favorite aspects of it for you?
Favorite aspects would probably, one, had to be the flexibility. Being able to travel whenever we wanted. My dad's job was pretty flexible, too. So we were able to take a month-long trip a few years ago and travel across the country. The flexibility was probably the best part. And then the second thing will probably being able to see my younger siblings grow up, and being able to be there for those life moments. So I'm definitely missing out on those now being at school. So it kind of makes me cry a little bit. But yeah, I love the flexibility and just being there, right there where my siblings are growing up. It's just been great.
And so I would add to that, kind of like you said about being there, is how great homeschool is for family relationships.
Oh, yes, definitely. I think if we were at school all day long, we wouldn't have the time to kind of just grow, help each other to learn, teach each other things, just have fun, make mistakes together. I really think being able to be with them 24/7, which did get overwhelming, and it still does get overwhelming, but I think I wouldn't change it for anything in the world.
Yeah.
Yes. No.
That's great. So I guess you see your role in your siblings' lives is pretty important, right? And I've encouraged my older kids to realize you're making a big impact, and I love it when they choose, like you're saying, to be intentional and try to make that impact.
Yes.
So as a homeschool graduate, what would you say to homeschool parents? Would you say anything to them about just encouraging them or things to do?
To homeschool parents, whether you have a strict schedule and you like strict schedules, or you like my mom and you like being laid back, we will turn out okay. There are many things and opportunities that life gives us, and whichever path that we choose, we trust you guys enough to raise us in a way that we can be successful in many different aspects of life. So.
That's great. Thanks for talking to us, Sierra.
Thank you.
Great. That was fantastic.
It was.
That should be encouraging, I think, to parents, don't you think?
They're going to be all right.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to be okay. So last week we had an interview with Spencer Mason, and we only got a little piece of that. I saved most of his great advice for this week. So now we're going to go back and watch the rest of our interview with Spencer Mason and see what kinds of information encouragement he has for us.
Cool.
So let's check it out. How long did you homeschool?
We've homeschooled for 26 years.
26 years?
Yeah. And now we've got grandkids being homeschooled by their parents. And so we've got two kids that have children, and there are five grandkids, and they're all being homeschooled.
So from the long view, what kind of advice would you give?
The long view, I would say homeschooling gives you're in charge of your homeschool. Whoever takes charge as the chief administrator of the homeschool, That means you get to determine what the children learn, when they learn it, how they learn it. So you can use real-world experiences to teach rather than artificial classroom experiences. You can engage them in a way that no classroom can engage your kids. And when they learn by doing, when they learn doing stuff that they enjoy and have fun doing, they're going to retain that information a lot longer, and it's going to be part of their lives. One of the things that we really encouraged with our kids is we weren't concerned about teaching them everything they needed to know, because we knew that we could not teach them everything they needed to know. What we concentrated on was helping them know how to find the resources to learn what they needed to learn. And that was a big difference for our kids. And I think the other thing is, with homeschooling, you can cover a lot of academics in a shorter period of time than they can. There's a lot of wasted time in a classroom environment. And so we gave our kids the precious gift of time. So our normal school, for up until high school age, our normal school day started at about 9:45 and ended at about 12:30. And we covered a lot of stuff in that period of time. But after lunch, our kids had the whole afternoon to pursue their interest. And some of our kids pursued a sports interest. Some of them pursued computer stuff.
Dance?
Dance? Dance. We had dance. Our youngest daughter, rather than being a swimmer, we had 3 of our kids swam with club swimming, and 2 of our kids were in the water 25 hours a week. But our youngest decided she wanted to dance.
Right.
So we did dance with her, and a lot of our kids were in a lot of plays and a lot of productions, theatrical productions, and that was one thing that they really enjoyed. We had one of our daughters was really into music. She loved singing.
So take advantage of all the freedom.
Oh, yeah.
And all the time to let them pursue these interests.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is, we learned a lot when our kids were young. We gave them time to have unstructured playtime.
Okay.
And we thought that was really important. It's very important for learning process, for their learning process, to not structure everything they do and not tell them, oh, we've got to do this, we got to do this, you got to do it this way. Let them have time, and unstructured time, and let them figure it out on their own. And that was another thing that we learned. Another thing that we learned in homeschooling is how much Debbie and I didn't know.
Right.
Because we were learning along with our kids.
Sure.
We were the resource provider.
Right.
And so we had to find the resources, but a lot of times we were reading information that we didn't know to the kids as they were learning while we were reading it
a
to
lot,
them.
can't
Yeah, yeah.
That's right. That's great.
And one thing that we did for many years was we had a family reading time. So after supper, we would sit down and read aloud to the kids early on. As the kids got older and they could read, they took turns reading. And it was really good. We read some really cool books. And it started out with, the Velveteen Rabbit and those kind of books. And it got into a little bit more, more complicated books. And most of them were classics, classic novels or literature, but some of them were biologies. I mean, we read a lot of stuff that was very interesting to me. Stuff that we never read when we were kids.
Well, we really appreciate Spencer. He does so much work with us for law and policy, and of course, full-time office administrator as well, and a lot of experience. So he shared a lot of wisdom right there. Hope we'll be very encouraged by that, especially when he said one thing they learned is how much they don't know.
Yes.
And that's one of the fallacies. Well, you're supposed to know everything that you teach your kids. Well, you can't do that.
No way.
but you learn with your kids. You're a facilitator, and you make sure to have the right resources. That frees us, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
All right, we are going to now go into the homeschool tip of the week, and that is one of the reasons we have Lynn here, because he's going to share some stuff with us. But first of all, tell us about your family. You have some kids you're homeschooling?
Yes, I have a few kids I'm homeschooling.
Okay.
Yes. I'm married to one beautiful woman. She's spectacular. And she has given me 5 children.
Wonderful.
Yes, 5 children.
Bless.
The oldest is 19, Pierre. Then I have Janelle. She's 16. Just got a driver's license.
Uh-oh.
So y'all watch out for her out there, okay? And then I have Chrissy in the middle. She's the dancer. She's 12. Then I have the bottom 2 babies. We have Irish twins. So one is Kaylin, KK. She's, how old is she? 7. She's 7, and John is 5. So they are like twins. They're on top of each other all the time.
Yeah.
So as you all know, my house, from looking at these numbers, our house is always live. Always live.
Always going.
There's
That's
probably a break between about 3 o'clock in the morning and maybe 4 o'clock in the morning when everybody's asleep. Other than that, the house is wide open. The teenagers are up at night, and the babies are up in the daytime, so it's live all the time. But it's such a blessing. I remember my father-in-law said that have as many kids as you can.
Really?
Right, because when you get older, you will appreciate it. It'll be some hard times, even with homeschooling. It'll be some hard times, but you'll appreciate when you're older. And now that I have all these kids, it's fantastic.
It's a blessing. It's a lot of fun, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
Our house, too, is a party all the time.
All the time party.
And you and your wife lead a homeschool group?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yes. Level Up Educational Academy. We have about 100 families. I'm the president. My wife is the vice president. We have Heidi working with us. We have Marilyn working with us. We have Jody working with us. And what we do, which is so cool, so fun, we have a team of about 7 tutors that come in and that they teach, whatever their specialty is. Okay. We have math tutors, we have science tutors. I'm teaching the health. I'm going to talk about the health tip today. But we have all these families that come together to a centralized location, Spirit of Joy, for us to encourage our kids, unweight the parents a little bit, and have these kids prepare themselves for college. Mm-hmm. We want them to be ready for college. We don't want them behind the ball. This COVID put a lot of people behind the ball, but we are on the front end making sure our kids are ready for college.
Right.
So exciting.
That's great.
And we just had our first day yesterday. Yesterday, and our second day is tomorrow, so we're excited about it.
And you enjoy teaching health because your work is?
I'm a physical therapist.
Okay.
I'm a physical therapist. My wife is a nurse. We've been messing around with health for 20-some years or so. So, health and marriage, as it relates to me and my wife, that's our passion. We love to teach on health. We love the Word of God, and we love to share health with our kids and with other kids.
And that's what you want to share with us today, right?
Yes,
What's
the
your
importance.
Tip?
The importance, y'all. We're going to talk about the importance of health as it relates to you homeschooling your kids. I know we have a lot of moms on here, but dads, I want y'all to listen to. Moms, it's your responsibility. You buy all the groceries. I have a 5-year-old. He doesn't buy anything, but he has an appetite, right? So it's our responsibility to set our kids up for success. So I have 4 tips for you today.
Great.
The first tip that I want you to know about is that it's a lifestyle. I know with social media and magazines, everyone's looking for a certain look. Mm-hmm. Yeah, health is not about a look. Health is about a lifestyle. So I want you, mothers, fathers, I want you to take a bird's eye view of your house. And I want you to look at your freezer, look in your refrigerator, and look at your activity level. If you look at your freezer and you look at your refrigerator, does it represent God's design for health? Mm-hmm. Just by looking at the things you have in there, do you have 4 quarts of ice cream and don't have any bananas, don't have any peppers, don't have anything like that, don't have any water in your house, but got juice and tea? Okay, just look at it. So health is a lifestyle. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is this. My pastor said, Pastor Furtick, he said that if you want to live with more power, and health is power, if you want to live with more power, you need to adjust your patterns, okay? The patterns that you're going and you're living by. That's tip number 2. We're going to come back to that. Tip number 3 is that you hear everyone saying that you are what you eat. I'm going to change it up a little bit. Okay. And I'm going to say you are what you think. Mm-hmm. It's more important how you think about yourself and about health than what you actually eat. You can watch what you eat all day. All that's going to happen is you're going to have greater accuracy with the bad food going in your mouth. But I'm talking about you paying attention to how you think. And the fourth tip, I'm not going to tell you at all. I'm going to wait to the very end, but it's going to bless you. It's going to be awesome. So now let's go back to tip number 2, because the most important thing about tip number 2 as it deals with your patterns is your atmosphere. And as mothers and fathers of homeschool kids, it's our responsibility to set a healthy atmosphere. If you imagine, I think y'all have heard the saying about show me your friends, I'll show you your future. You know, if you hang around with a bunch of people that's doing the wrong thing, you're going to be guilty by association, aren't you? Yeah.
And you're going to be drawn toward it as well.
And you're going to be drawn toward it as well. So as parents, what are we drawing our kids to? What type of patterns are we setting them? When we wake up in the morning, are we running around and getting out of the house because what we're going to is more important than feeding our bodies? Or are we teaching our kids that, hey, go to bed early, wake up a little bit earlier so you can have a good quality breakfast in the morning? It's all based upon that. I got a little story I like to talk about. You know who Michael Jordan is? Basketball player. Does anyone know? You've heard of him. You've heard of him. It's so cool. I watched The Last Dance, and it was all about him and his run with the Chicago Bulls and everything. And the last chapter, the last scene really touched me because it was talking about the how can I say, the priority he put on the way that he actually played the game of basketball.
Okay.
And what was so cool about it was this. He said that he never asked any of the other players to do anything that he didn't do himself.
Okay.
So how does that relate to being a homeschool parent and a homeschool, running your house?
Sure does.
When we do something, our kids are just following our example. So what type of example are we giving to our kids without us telling? We're not telling them to eat, salads and stuff like that. We're telling them by just showing them what we're eating. Another thing Jordan he said that because you're a part of this team, I'm holding you to a certain standard. And if you don't want to play by that standard that I'm holding you to, then just don't play. So basically, if you're in the house, if you're with me, if you're on my team, if you're on my homeschool team, then guess what? We're going to eat and we're going to live on a certain level. So the whole concept behind that is make sure moms and dads, talk to moms and dads, make sure that you're eating the way that you want your kids to eat 10 years from now. Make sure you're active the way you want your kids to be active 10 years from now. So that's point number 2. Point number 3, you're going to like this. It's not so much about you paying attention to what you eat, but it's paying attention to what you think. A while ago, I read a book, and it's called The Biology of Belief. And it was talking about how every cell in our body is eavesdropping on our very thoughts and our very words. So imagine this. You are saying things that are contrary to health. Now, how does that relate to being a homeschool mom and leading a household homeschool dad? Listen to this scripture. You're going to love this. Finally, believers, I'm in the Amplified version because I like that, a whole bunch of words. Finally, believers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is worthy of respect, whatever is right and confirmed by God's word, those are the things that we're supposed to be thinking about continuously all the time. This is Philippians 4:8. He's telling us how to think. And lastly, the fourth tip that I know y'all been waiting for. Yes.
I just thought of this where the Proverbs say a joyful heart is good medicine.
Yes.
And all of those, and envy rots the bones, all that stuff, the connection between my attitude, my thinking, and the body.
Yes. Love it. The word of God's awesome. So lastly, the last one, and I'm going to slip this in, but y'all are going to love it. It's going to bless you. As it deals with health and it deals with our kids and even as parents, because we're making a shift in our patterns, we are going after progress, not perfection. A lot of people stop short because they know it's not going to be perfect. I don't want you to go for perfection. I want you to go for progress. Look at where you are now. Look at where your family is right now, and just take baby little steps to get better and better and better. And I guarantee you, this time next year, you won't recognize yourself, nor will you recognize your kids. Be healthy.
So it matters the direction you're moving in.
Yes.
Not necessarily where you are in the process.
Right.
And that's encouraging to say, as long as we're moving in the right direction, we're going to get to where we need to get to.
Let's just move in the right direction.
Well, thanks so much. So encouraging. And I hope you guys are thinking about this, thinking about what's the culture of our home, what's the atmosphere of our home, what kinds of habits and patterns of thinking are we sharing. So again, we just want to make sure that everything we're doing here is empowering and encouraging you to homeschool your kids with confidence and joy. If you love this show, And if it's helpful to you, please share it. Share it with your friends, your family.
Everybody. Share with everybody.
That's right. And you can go to NCHE.com/the Homeschool Show and find out how to subscribe on podcasts or see it on YouTube. If you would subscribe there or leave a review, that's going to help other people find the show as well. We would love your feedback. If you have questions, suggestions for content, anything at all, you can email us at thehomeschoolshow@nche.com, and we would love to be able to respond to that. So until next week, continue to homeschool with confidence and joy.